This is David with Corel Training.
This is Cassie Green from Apparelist.
This is Gordon and Firemark from the Entertainment Law Update.
And you're listening to
Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Terry Combs RG, Regular Guy, and Aaron Montgomery.
The place to be for industry news.
the best dad jokes on earth, along with relevant topics to apparel decorators.
So pass it away.
Hey there, regulators. This is Aaron Montgomery with our Success Group and American Print and Supply. And today, for those of you in the U.S., hopefully you had a wonderful Thanksgiving yesterday. Normally, we do not have a show on this Friday, Black Friday here in the United States, but we had an awesome opportunity to talk to Brad from Hoops CRM. And we didn't want to miss the opportunity to share this with you here in 2025. So we recorded this ahead of time, and this is a little bonus for you guys, a really great conversation about the rise of automation. So it's been a big topic around Two Regular Guys lately, and I'm excited to jump in here with Brad and Terry. So enjoy this special bonus content episode. No secret sauce, no news today, just great deep content for you. Have a great holiday weekend, and we will talk to you guys next Friday.
Well, Brad, we used to do those canned bios. We don't do that anymore. So we just let you tell us a little story about yourself. So what was that turning point that led you from running a print shop to founding Hoops?
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks. So yeah, I did. I started a print shop in my mum and dad's garage. To be honest, it was for beer money while I was a university student. That was kind of why I got into it. I liked art, and I liked I liked printing things, and it was fun, and it made money, and it sort of got me through university, which was good. And the business then kind of scaled up a little bit. We ended up buying out another company that was based locally, and the business began to grow. And so I guess your question there about the turning point. So print shop, selling printed merchandise. We also did some outsourced promo stuff as well, even way back then. And the turning point, I suppose, was twofold. So the turning point initially was within the screen printing shop at about 600,000 in annual revenue. The wheels were falling off really quickly. We all know the situation, and with a high volume, low margin service that is print shops, what can happen is you make a mistake the Monday morning and you spend the rest of the week playing catch up to try and break even with 20 profitable jobs to get the one that you failed on the Monday morning. And that compounded, and we had a month where we made a loss. And it was just because we were growing and there were growing pains and mistakes creeping in. So I guess the turning point there was the revelation of there's got to be a better way. This sucks. This isn't why I got into this. I wasn't enjoying it so much anymore. So the turning point in that business, like I say, was just got to be a better way. I got into this to have fun, not to lose money and everything like that. So Then I sort of set out on the path of, all right, where are the mistakes coming in? Let's solidify the processes and things like that. And that began the journey sort of from there. So it was about a 12-month journey, which took me through trialing software products that have ended up becoming our competitors. And remember, this is about 15 years ago. It's in Australia. So Printavo was in its earlier stages. I believe that we definitely trialed Printavo. We trialed Shopbox. We trialed as I say, a lot of the technology that's become Hoops' competitors, but they were well and truly not set up in any way to serve the Australian market whatsoever. And also because we had a very hybrid business, even back then, we had a hybrid business of in-house print shop, and we were also selling value-add merchandise that we weren't producing ourselves, and that wasn't well handled in those technologies. So I'm a non-technical tech founder. I'm not a code writer myself, but I like technical things, right? So I then set out on the path of let's build something. And that was a bit of a journey of its own. And we ended up building a piece of software. That's not what Hoops is now, but it was sort of the beginning of that whole process. And that piece of software that was really purpose-built for one business, it ended up being just transformative for the screen printing shop. The results that came from that, within about 18 months, we'd had an 80% increase in net profit, with only 10% increase in overall revenue. So what, I guess, boiling that down, we didn't have to grow the business to be taking home a whole lot more. We just solved the mistakes, solved that Monday morning mistake, rest of the week catch-up problem. And then back to your turning point that you mentioned, Terry, the turning point there was, this thing's great. This is fun. This helped a lot. And there's tons of other businesses that could use this as well. And we've built something unique. So the turning point there was a software for a business to then becoming what sort of along the path of what Hoops has become. Because I guess when we set out, the strategy was relatively easy to, if you think about it, it's sort of, we felt that we had three options. We could look at businesses and what they did at the time and take that process that they have and turn it digital, or we could take it and create a workflow, like quite a linear workflow, and sell that software, that workflow to other companies. And we felt that's what our competitors were doing. I still feel that's what our competitors are doing. And then we felt the third and the best option, and the one that's made us successful, was we built sort of a set of tools that allows businesses to work their way. So no two print shops run the same. It's really interesting from our viewpoint. And I mean, you guys have a similar viewpoint. You speak with so many people, I imagine, that you would have found that as well, is we tend to sell a similar thing, but the way you get there is completely different. I'm sure you both agree.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, funny enough, I'm always looking for people that have that big bruise on their forehead, because I know something cool is coming after that, right? They want to get rid of that bruise and go back to having fun with their business. And so it's always fun to see what they're up to. They're going to make something changing. And then I love the fact that you guys said, well, other people could use this, right? And that's a cool turning point for sure. So.
Yeah, thanks. It was, and it was really, I mean, it's a big difference between running a print shop and running a tech company. And that difference has become more and more clear over time, but it was a really fun thing. And it's interesting just how many print shops in particular, I mentioned we serve, embroiderers, print shops, promo, in-house outsourced merch, like that's our market with Hoops. But print shops in particular, it has a very strong artistic undertone. A lot of people get into it because they enjoy the feeling of a squeegee in their hands. And taking that leap from enjoying that into having a business that actually puts food on the table it's a process. It's something that you need to be very conscious during that process. And I found that really fun, but it certainly, as you said, the bruise on the forehead, I've never actually heard it put that way before, but it's through pain that sometimes you have these revelations. And we've now also worked with a number of companies who have had those same revelations, and we've been so grateful to have been in part a part of that journey and have helped that out.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. The bruise on the forehead thing just comes from, sitting here banging my head against the wall until hopefully the wall gets out of the way. But
it never does, right? You've always got to walk around the wall. It's very rare the wall falls down.
So you got to come up with a new tool, new strategy. Well, okay. So this, I think, leads really nicely into, as you're seeing, you're at that place where your print shop's in a place and mistakes are happening. It's growing pains, right? I don't think people kind of understand that enough. Is as you grow, we think, oh man, I'm getting more business, all things are going to be good, but you're actually creating more potential problems if you have broken systems to begin with, right? And the more sales you feed to it, the louder those problems get. But I think one of the things that I've always seen, and probably where sounds like where you like to have fun in, is kind of this idea of automating or process kind of thing. So maybe let's start there. What does that mean to, we get to deal with a lot of different print shops and a lot of different sizes, but my real love is the small mom and pop, it's a small to mid-sized shop. And a lot of times they're going, man, automation, I don't know it. I don't get it. What does that mean for me? I'm just trying to get through the day kind of thing. So maybe give us kind of the practical idea of what automation could mean for somebody.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more in that is such a massive component of what we did, right? But the word automation, it conjures these images of the Toyota factory with robots creating cars, and there's no human involvement whatsoever. And it's actually a really daunting concept to even fathom, particularly the smaller you are. So I think that the way to reframe it for a print shop is that you're never too early to start in automating your process. And also, I guess, then thinking of it differently and thinking smaller, thinking more nuts and bolts, more bite-sized pieces of automation goes, let's say a tiny print shop. A way of automating a process is by writing an email once and using it as a template going forward. If you're writing roughly the same email, but you're typing it every time, that's manual. But then automating that simplistic process is to say, well, when I send a quote, it might be, hi, first name, blah, blah, blah. That's generic text, boilerplate. And then the next section is insert sales pitch here, right? Just by doing that in your irregular email client, that's automating something that you're doing. So that's obviously on the smaller scale, but everyone should do that. If you're writing custom text emails every single time, you're wasting heaps of time in busy work. But then let's go to sort of a mid-sized shop, and this transitions from a mid-sized shop all the way to very large shops as well, is automation in terms of, I'm thinking very digitally related automation. So we have automation in print shops, which it would relate to, let's say, like the M&R Trilock system. That's a fantastic way of automating your screen room to on press in a much shorter amount of time, right? That's a process that is related to efficiency. My viewpoint is less machinery oriented, more digital space oriented. So let's say automated customer status updates. And we'll probably go into that a little bit more because it's quite a big piece that we could sort of discuss that any size print shop can be using as a really good lever. But automating that process. So when the job hits point X, notify the customer. That's an automation as well. So it doesn't have to be the Toyota factory. It can be something so much more nuts and bolts than that. Even the concept of looking at the milestones, let's say, of a job, the artwork approval stage is a really big tipping point where things change. You go from sort of real digital, where are we at, to, okay, now we need to make these things, whatever they are, whether they're pens or hats or bags or shirts or whatever. But art's approved, let's go. When that trigger happens, art approved, then you've got these multiple sub steps. Maybe you want to notify your production manager, hey, the art's approved, do your thing. Or you'd say, okay, well, now we'll set the job as ready for screens. We will set the job as ready to stage the stock, the blank shirts. Whatever it might be, you've got these sort of set of rules that often come from a milestone across a workflow. And automating those processes is where the massive time saving is.
Gotcha.
I love your explanation of automation by having that email that really puts it into perspective for people more than the robots and people hear automation and they think complex, they think expensive, they think scary, and employees are in a position too where it's hard for them to make changes. So what's the mindset shift that they need to embrace automation instead of being intimidated by it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think that, as you said, the problem with that is when it's daunting, when it's scary, it's no longer exciting, so nobody does it. If you reverse engineer that, so the mindset that you're talking about, firstly is it's a no fear mindset. There's no way to get this wrong. You can do it really, really, really good. And the only way to get it as close to wrong is to not do it. Everything that you do is incremental progress, and it's better than not doing it. So that's sort of a cool way of looking at it. And it's not expensive, any of this. I mean, we were talking, like you said, Terry, great example with the email. That's free. That costs absolutely nothing. So I guess by looking at it that way, the mindset then changes. So for smaller shops looking to embrace this type of thinking in early stages, and I strongly agree with strongly sort of advocate for it's never too early, but the mindset is efficiency. So the link between efficiency and automation is undeniable. So what's your most efficient process? and looking at those things on a fairly regular basis. A few years ago, I watched this fantastic TED talk that spoke about how in business we bring in a new team member, let's say, or a new piece of machinery, and we give it about 15 minutes of training, and then we expect it to perform at its optimum level day in, day out for its lifespan.
Yeah.
And if you look at teams and high functioning humans that do that really well, you can always look to sport. And so the idea then is, so let's say a football team, they're training 6 days to perform 1 day for 2 hours.
Yeah.
So the training might be 40 hours and the performance is 2 hours. Now, that's probably not realistic for a business, but it's just a cool mindset to take into it in thinking, how can we be better? How can we improve? And what can we do? Why did that take, 6 steps to get from that station to that station? And why couldn't we do it in 4? There's a pretty big percentage increase reduction in time, but a percentage improvement by doing something like that. So it doesn't have to be the robots. It doesn't have to be those big things. It doesn't have to be expensive or scary in any way. It's about the things that you do, that you currently do, doing them efficiently, and then taking them and saying, okay, now I have a process and now I'm going to automate that process.
Yeah.
Instead of multiple clicks to send the email, let's do it in 1. Let's do it in 2 rather than in 15.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I love that way of thinking too. Like you said, it's all going to be an improvement, right? It's getting more of your time back and being more profitable.
Yep.
And all you have to do is put in a little work on the front side of that. Right. So, and you can't get that wrong. I love that mindset. So cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Brett, Aaron and I are big nerds along this line, so we're loving this.
We love the idea of
I actually saw this was a pretty common theme with guests on your podcast as well. So I know I'm in good company, which is lovely.
Yes, we are all speaking the same language here. Okay, so as we were kind of exchanging information before we had an opportunity to talk to you, right? Like, okay, I'm seeing where we're heading here, and before we start talking about adding software or automation or things like that, a term that stood out to me that you had shared was process clarity.
Yep.
Right? And so what is the best way to kind of gain some clarity in their process, right? You talked about going from 6 steps to 4 steps, right? How do you see those types of things?
Yeah, cool. Okay, so again, let's go. This is applicable to any size shop. Okay, so I do have a way of doing it. And this is, in my opinion, the fun part. It's also the only time I advocate for using a whiteboard as a business method. And it's only because you do it every once in a while. Don't run your business on a whiteboard. That's not automated. That's not efficient. But this is a fun process to do with the team or by yourself, depending on the size of the shop. And it's what you can do there is every business has a set of rules. It's just only some of those businesses actually recognize what the rules are and write them down. So let's say you start with kind of a blank sentence. So write on a whiteboard, when, with a big underline. That's what you're going to fill in. So when, underline, we can. So when deposit is paid, we can create proofs, right? So that way of thinking builds out your business rules. So a good example from my side was COVID, right? So during the pandemic, or at the early stages of the pandemic, all the fear that surrounded it, and there were businesses that were just not paying bills and things like that. So all of a sudden, the operating procedures in my print shop at the time became 100% payment up front. So what that meant was the rule became, when payment has been received in full, we can create proofs. And then the next step is, when artwork is approved, we can shoot the screens. When the screens are shot, we can stage the stock. So you sort of see my methodology there. Yeah. You might have 10, you might have 100. And the thing with these is they should be revised. So they should be written down. I mean, even if you do write it on a whiteboard and you just take a photo of it and you come back, that's great for a small shop. Other than that, put it into a doc and keep this. Because you can come back to it over time. Yeah. And that set of rules serve as the foundation for all of this, and the way that you can automate everything in there. It all starts with the rules relating to efficiency. And when you have that, then you can build on a really, really solid foundation of that. So the times that you would then revise this would be, I've bought a new machine. I've taken on a new outsourced partner with a new process. Let's say DTF has come in hot, but you haven't yet invested in a machine. I'm a massive advocate for that as well. Start selling it before you buy the machine, but outsource it. So I know over your way, Ninja Transfers is a massive one at all the shows, right? They've got a huge booth and a massive sort of countrywide network. Here in Australia, there are a bunch of great ones as well, Vicon and a few outsourced partners. But my point there is, you can then pivot really easily on this. But when you have that set of rules and something changes, you can revise the set of rules really easily. So if you've taken on a new machine, if you've taken on a new person that's going to come into your team, that will be a good time to say, okay, I've hit X growth milestone. I've just hired my first salesperson, and now I need to maybe go back to that document that I've created and revise when this happens, we can do this because I've now got a new person or a new machine.
Love it. Terry, I can prove that we are all on the same team here, same page, because in my book, I actually have a picture of a whiteboard and writing out your process on the whiteboard. Now, Brad's going into a little more depth and detail. This is more of an overview of a business fundamental foundation, but yes, we are all on the exact same page here, Terry.
Love
it. That's awesome. So we like to talk about real world examples. So give us an example of a shop that actually got their processes in order before they did any automation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, look, okay, excellent. So let me talk about a shop. I love this story, and it was so kind of the person, one of our users in New Zealand, to have shared it with us. So let me talk about before, what things looked like for these guys before they even focused on efficiency. Then once you've focused on the efficiency, then you focus on the automation of said efficiency. So the guy's name's Rich. He is from New Zealand. Company, their name is Diffuse. Fantastic company. He bought it out, and it was the shop needed some process improvements. When him and I spoke, what was fantastic about it, he opened up and said that initially, what would happen was he'd come in on the weekend and he'd get in on the weekend. All right, I'm going to get everything laid out and ready. This week's going to be the week that everything runs smoothly. And Monday was okay. Tuesday and Wednesday it begins to slip. Thursday, the wheels are nearly off. And Friday, he's holding on for dear life. And he's back in there on a Saturday and Sunday. And because he's a really smart guy, he focused on efficiency and said, all right, why is this happening? Bird's eye view. What am I going to do with it? He focused on efficiency. He built in processes. They weren't initially automated processes, but they were defined. That's almost more important than the automation. The automation can only come where 15 things happen when I click one button. It only happens if you know what those 15 things should be. So he goes in, he does that. And when we spoke, and he'd been using Hoops for around 18 months at this point, he'd also taken on a new business, so maybe it was a year. And he said, I haven't worked a weekend in the last 6 months. And I've got peace of mind. I'm loving this business. I'm loving my life. That's the type of success story that you get out of it. And that is, I mean, that's a very, very well-run business, and it's grown significantly. And it's because of creative things like that. But again, back to the forehead banging against the wall, it's, at what point do you say, I've banged my head against this wall enough times, I need to figure out a way to get around this wall? Makes a really, really big difference. And then I guess that because my own experience here as well was really fantastic through this. I banged my head against the wall, and within 18 months, net profit was up by 80% with only 10% turnover growth. So my own bottom line was better. My life was better because of it. I had more free time, more money. Those are all results, like tangible results out of doing this. It's not as if you just do it for the whiteboard and the fun of it. You get a lot out of it.
That's awesome. I teach screen printing classes that you've probably heard on the show. And one of the things I always say in the class is, this class is based on decades of me standing in the middle of my production floor going, there has to be a better way to do this. So we are speaking the same language here.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I guess it's the same thing that we're all sort of saying in a different way. Is it's through that time of challenge, however big or small the challenge is, that it's I guess it's a great leader and a great business owner that says there has to be a better way,
Right.
and then knows that that better way is going to deliver that type of outcome that gives them peace of mind. I cannot tell you, and this one really gets me. I cannot tell you how many businesses we speak to that say we have a fantastic feature in Hoops called our job board, and it's sort of all your jobs at a glance. That's the way we sell it, right? And it's amazing. It's our most loved thing, undoubtedly. But when people see it, they go, I cannot, like, I've forgotten to invoice so many jobs. Now, I'm a money guy, so I like that. If I'm going to forget anything, it's not going to be that. And like, that's crazy to think that you could forget something so pivotal in your
Yeah.
business, to that you could forget something like that. So it's
Yeah.
it's scary if these processes aren't in place.
Yeah, 100%. It's so shocking to me too. I hear that all the time. Like, oh yeah, I got to go invoice. I'm like, what do you mean you got to go invoice? You already delivered the job, and it's all like that'd be the first thing that I would do.
Yeah, sure, right?
Yeah. Uh,
Well, you kind of made reference to this earlier in this conversation, but where's the balance between automation and the human side, the creative side, the
Yeah.
relationship side of all this? Where's the balance between all these things? Because what we do is a very creative environment. I think that's why people like all of us love this business, is because of the creativity of it. So where's the balance?
Absolutely. Okay. So you mentioned the creativity. The creativity is predominantly loved by the business owner. The unfortunate reality is that the creativity, while a customer loves a beautiful product, the creativity that sits behind the scenes that really drives the owner is often not necessarily the same motivation that the customer has. So we see tons of customers these days that don't really care whether it's DTF, DTG, screen. Like, some people do, and some people really, I want that, like a simulated process print, and they're really educated customer, but they're kind of rare these days, right? So that creativity inside the business and the way that you create products, by freeing up time through efficiency and automation, you actually end up buying a lot of time back into the business to focus on that, to actually get back to the roots of it as to why did I get into this in the first place. And as I said earlier, it's very regularly with screen print shops, it's the creativity. I love the way that my prints look. I have the softest feeling prints. That's so core to what drives us in the beginning. And by implementing these things, you actually get a lot of that back. In terms of the customer facing side, I personally think that what I've spoken about a little bit in the actual automation I'm talking about, or a portion of it at least, is customer status updates about their job, right? So, hey, your order's gone into production. Hey, that has happened. Hey, that's happened. So that can feel really cold. It can feel really automated, and it can feel really sort of blank. The way that you can introduce character, creativity, and personalization into that is by, every business has a brand, a logo, and within the overall brand is a tone of voice. So by having a look at that and actually saying, all right, who are we and who is our customer? So, I'm a band merch guy, and I might send all my emails out saying, hey dude, what's up?
Yeah.
Right? But I sell to corporates, and it could be, hello sir. I mean, I'm probably exaggerating both sides
Yeah.
of that example, but you put your own flavor, put your own personality on those things. And then something that I really like when it comes to automated customer status updates, or the automation that's customer facing, is to actually call it out as automation. We've done this. This is an automated update. And almost not make fun of it, but make light of it. Of,
Yeah.
this is how we serve you so well because we've automated this. Or I saw a cool T-shirt once that was done by a screen print shop, and screen printers, particularly some of them, notorious for having fingerprints all over the front of their shirts, right? You've got a little dab of plastisol and you put it on your own shirt. And on the back of their shirt, it said, the front of my shirt has fingerprints all over it so that yours don't, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And I like that as bringing out the business's personality in, we're fun, we're creative, we're messy. This is what we do. And I think that if you can focus again, back, they're probably more the hey dude more than the hello sir side of it. But if you can focus and just think, be conscious of who you are as a brand and who you are as a business, you can bring that to the forefront and take away the coldness of the automated interactions and make them actually really fun. And it's, again, that's pretty simple to do. One thing I'd probably say in today's environment is what I see a lot of people do is they'll put their own tone of voice and then they'll take it to ChatGPT. ChatGPT has a tone of voice of its own. While it will interpret yours, it will output something that takes some of the warmth out of it, in my opinion. When it comes to key interactions with your customer, if you want to polish off your language, your spelling, your grammar, ChatGPT is fantastic, but don't let it write those key ones for you, or let it write it, then get it back and put your flavor back all over it. Would be my perspective.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that, Brad. That's a great point, right? Like, we can keep the human inside of automation just by influxing it in with, like you said, our brand, our tone of voice, and again, being mindful of, okay, hey, ChatGPT, write this automated email for me, but don't just go and copy and paste, right? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Now I'm going to put myself back into the middle of this.
Exactly. For sure.
You know, there's a DTG decorator here in Phoenix that, when you were talking about the ink on the shirt, he has a magnified view of a nozzle check on his shirt, and it's a perfect nozzle check, and it says it's going to be a good day.
I love it.
And I mean, what a spectacular inside joke for decorators. And exactly. That's fun. And there are so many customers that will love that. That personality, love that tone of voice. And it really builds loyalty as well. I mean, we're talking sort of overall sort of branding now more than automation, but that type of thing, it makes a huge difference.
Yep.
I love it. I think that the tone of voice and brand, I mean, okay, so something cool that we do, right, is from the Hoops point of view, these shows that we do in America, shows, as everyone knows, you're competing for people's attention. People walk past our booth. We want to have a chat. We've got something that can change your life and give you that peace of mind, right? One of the ways that we hook people in is we're Australian. I'm not sure if you've ever had it, but we give out little condiment-sized packages of Vegemite.
Oh boy.
So if you've had Vegemite, you know it's a pretty polarizing thing. But we attack that with people are like, oh, what is this? We'll say, well, look, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. But either way, you're going to remember us. And we've had people on the show floor rip it open, stick their finger in. And if anyone has eaten Vegemite, that's not how you do it. Not Australians don't do it that way. And that's not how you do it. But I guess my point there is bringing that fun and bringing that creativity. It's totally possible, and there's always a fun and creative way of doing it. And the great thing is, this is a fun and creative industry.
Yeah.
So the talk of automation and talk of efficiency can sometimes feel like it dulls out that fun and that creativity, but it doesn't. It actually just gives you more time to focus on it. Like I said earlier, Terry, in regards the internal creativity that you want to bring in, it gives you maybe more time to focus on a perfect print instead of sending or fielding heaps of calls. Where's my job? And that automation can silence a lot of that.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you have Men at Work playing in your booth during the?
That's the next thing. So
I was going to say, if we don't hear that when we see you in your booth, Brad, we're going to be disappointed.
That's pretty funny. I haven't gone that far, and I don't think that I will.
All right.
That song on repeat all day might drive me insane.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll have it playing when we walk by. How about that? All right. Well, okay. We've got a lot of people in this space, decorating space, that, right, they're yes, they're creative, but they can also get set in their ways. I've actually got the story that the regulators have probably heard before, but I'll share it again real quick. When I went to work as the sales manager and customer service manager for this company, the first thing I did was I put this sign on my door that was a picture of a running of the bulls in Pamplona, Spain, with a guy getting flung up into the air with the bull underneath him, and it was one of those kinds of posters where it says at the top, just because we've always done it this way, down at the bottom it says, doesn't mean it's not incredibly stupid. Right? And so, but obviously that was a tongue-in-cheek way for me to kind of share with everybody in the office there that we might change some things up here. We might try to do things a little bit differently. And so, and I know when you start talking about automation and change that Terry kind of alluded to at the beginning, what's some advice that you would give to people trying to break through that resistance to change?
Yeah, that's a really good question and so common. I cannot tell you how frequently we deal with that. Not well, I mean, implementing new software when you're a very established business is change management, right? And we do a great job at Hoops of trying to soften the edges of that and make it a smooth transition. But with every change comes change, right? And teams can tend to resist that. But the great thing is, with good leadership is all about trust. If the team trust in the vision of the leader and they know that their voice will be heard, change management becomes a whole lot easier as well.
Hmm.
So I think that it's a dated leadership is a bit like parenting in a way, a lot like parenting. You're leading your children, but it's consistency. So what that means is that leadership day to day, exactly as you said, Aaron, you put that poster front and center saying, "Hey, this is the tone of leadership that I have. It's friendly, it's fun, it's collaborative, it's willing to poke fun at itself." That poster as well. It takes a lighthearted approach to it, but at the end of the day, there's still a man being chased by a bull. It's it's not a
There's still some
nothing,
blood and
right?
gore, yeah.
So I guess that to me is the biggest thing. We've seen
Nice.
Hoops directly. We've seen it rolled out so successfully when the leadership when they're proactive in the process. Salespeople in particular, production people are okay, but salespeople in particular tend to be really set in their ways, and they will sometimes come with the argument of, but I'm more efficient in my current process. I will keep doing it that way and I'll make you more sales. That's quite a nearsighted approach, and the leader should see through that relatively easily, hopefully. And then with that trust component having been built in, as a leader come tough decisions and tough rollouts. So you need buy-in from the team, and I think the way that you get that is to be honest up front. You don't tiptoe around the fact that change is coming. You're really upfront and front-footed with it, and you start with the outcome, saying, "We're doing this because." And if you can give a plausible enough reason for why you're doing something, people will acknowledge it, understand it, and you've built that trust component over time, and they know Aaron's the guy. He's the guy with the poster on his wall. That's his style of leadership. He's great, and I get it.
Yeah.
And I get that change is coming for me, and I need to learn something new. And 100 times out of 100, the change is less scary than what people think it is going to be. I cannot state that more clearly. It's just it is every single time. We a fantastic company that we work with, a really big company in New Zealand called the Brand Makers. I believe they've rebranded to. It used to be called Direct Group. We had a lovely testimonial from them years ago saying our team were nervous initially, and then after 1 week of using Hoops, they came back to us saying, "Hey, should we be having more training? Because this is so easy. We've just kind of got it." And I guess that's indicative of what I'm saying. This is going back a while, and they've been using our platform for 6 years or so. So the technology's come a long way in that time as well. It's even easier to use. So the point there, a lot of that point is about the fact that within that company, the salespeople or the team in general were perhaps considering this is going to be huge change, really difficult. All change is hard. Change. It's like we're sort of born into thinking it's a bad thing, it's a challenging thing, it's the wrong thing. Let's stay the same, and things will stay the same.
Yeah.
If you stay the
Yeah.
same, things stay the same.
Yep.
And that's what a leader is looking to make change. They are looking to introduce that for an overall outcome. So getting that buy-in by kind of articulating it in that way softens it a lot. And then you get that double down of, oh, wow, that was a lot easier than I anticipated. And that's the real sort of when things light up. But yeah, it takes a good leader and a strong leader to say, I get it. I've heard you. You have been heard in this conversation. We're doing this because of this. And that, in my opinion, is where we've seen the most effective leadership come into play from our side of the fence.
Yeah.
It's like the dating. Once they see the success, then it gets easier and easier and easier. They're more trusting of the ideas. So
absolutely. I mean, we've probably all seen this. I've seen printers, manual printers, good, fast, efficient manual printers. They could not be any more resistant to that first auto. Right? If you're running a manual shop and you employ other printers, and perhaps those printers haven't got experience, or they haven't, worked on. In Australia, we have some really large companies, but there are also a lot of sort of smaller ones that will start with 1 to 2 manuals, and then it will grow into their first auto. And that's what it did for me. And that resistance to change was massive. So, but then when you find, oh wow, that was pretty easy to do. I just ran 1,000 shirts in 2 hours. And the penny drops of, wow, the outcome that you said we were going to get, we got. And it was nowhere near as difficult as we anticipated. But it does take, as you said, good leadership to get through that.
Yeah. Well, so for our listeners who are listening to this and they haven't embraced automation, what are some of the warning signs? What are some of the red flags that a print shop might see that shows them they might be falling behind because they're not embracing any type of automation?
Yeah. Okay. So I lightly mentioned it before. The earliest and clearest sign is emails or the phone ringing with the customer saying, "Where's my job?" The "Where's my job" call or email is more destructive than anybody could comprehend. It is a poison for any business. And it's so easily solved through automation. And I'm just talking about customer status updates. But that is one of the earliest signs of, hey, you guys are run off your feet. Your team are working too hard to deliver the jobs. And I don't mean to take that lightly. I've been there. I get that entirely.
Yeah.
But if the phone's ringing, it's actually making your problem worse because you're time poor to begin with. And now you've got your customer calling saying, "Where's my job?" And then you've got to sift through 15 pieces of paper and a whiteboard to figure out where it actually is. That is the number one warning sign that there's change to be made and things, there has to be a better way. As a recurring theme unexpectedly through this chat is there has to be a better way. And there is. I think that it's something that I really strongly advocate for is what you can do with that. So we spoke earlier about the process to follow, the whiteboard process that you might follow to identify what could I automate. You can do the same thing if you're getting the "Where's my job" call or email.
Yeah.
If you just focus on, let's say, 5 of them and say, okay, we got the order, track back through your emails. Let's say we got the order on the 1st of the month. It's now the 21st of the month. So we're at a 3-week timeline, and that's where I got the call. Just note it down and do it for 5 jobs and see if there's a pattern. That will help you go back to that whiteboard. And now you're not only looking at that whiteboard saying, here are my set of rules, but you're then taking those rules and saying, it's at this critical milestone, artwork approved, or hey, we've received your stock, or thanks for the deposit payment. Whatever it might be for your business, that might be those key milestones, and those become your customer touch points. And once you've done that, automate the process. You don't need to automate it day one, but if you're growing, you will need to get on top of that, because what you need is a workflow that says, well, my job status just went to in production. and therefore my customer automatically got an email saying your job's in production. At the same time, my production manager says, hey, we're printing this today. Or this stock has just left the vendor and it's on the way to us. Those types of statuses and the updates that come off of them, they're the thing that are going to silence the where's my job call. And if you do it correctly, they will actually also silence a lot of the internal chatter and communication as well, because that's a little bit of a bleed out of time. Nothing wrong with chatting about your weekend at the water cooler, but if you've got one person walking up a set of stairs to walk to another person's office to say, hey, what's going on with this job? That's a massive bleed out of time in a high volume, low margin manufacturing business. And now you don't need to think about you don't need to become the company with the robots, but think of that as the North Star. And they don't have robots walking up the stairs to check in with someone about what's going on. They've thought about, all right, this happens first, then this, and keeping that really clear and calm. And what happens as well with the where's my job side of things. So the main one that you can silence that with is an overall email at the very beginning of the order. So customers, particularly these days, and it is usually depending, not always, but quite often dependent on the age of the customer. Millennials and younger will expect an order. What do you mean it's not done in 48 hours? Everything's done in 48 hours these days, right? And then so what you want to do is to set the customer's expectations through either a manual or an automated email. I obviously recommend an automated email, but you send it out saying, hey, thanks for the order. Let's say you've got an order number assigned. It's 12345. The next steps are you'll receive a proof from us in 7 days. Back to our rules that we created on the whiteboard. What is your flow? And that it all sort of starts to make sense and fit together like puzzle pieces. So next step is you're going to get the artwork in 7 days or in 48 hours, depending on your workflow.
Yep.
We will be ordering shirts from the suppliers. We will usually get those in 1 week. After that, your job is scheduled. You get my point. Once you say these things and you set timelines around them, the customer who thought it was done in 48 hours, they're not thinking that because they want to be rude. They're thinking that because it's just, well, that's just how it is, right? And as soon as they almost don't know that their expectations have been realigned with reality, but now you're on the same page. And then the call stops. So what you end up getting, the knock-on effect of that, the phone stops ringing and your team are once again more efficient. So it's like this, an upward spiral. It's really positive effect that catches the whole business in it, where it's like, wow, every phone call I've had today has been about a new customer wanting a new order, instead of I've had 40 phone calls checking in on their jobs. And the phone's been busy when my new customers tried to call me, as an example. So that's a really good starting point of if you see that creeping in, there's no time too early. And we even look at the very beginning, I said about email templates. Write it up. Put your tone of voice on it. Hey, dude, this is what to expect next, dude. And, go through that process and put your tone of voice, put your brand in it. All of this is beginning to sort of fit together. And if you only send one email to a customer, just send it at the start of the order to set the expectations. Because if you're getting that phone call, as I mentioned before in the example, after 3 weeks, then perhaps that's a timeline that you need to manage. That's sort of the upper end of the turnaround time. Except if you've sent that email saying your order will take 6 weeks, they're not calling in 3. They know it's going to take 6. And then let's say it spills over and it's going to take 7 or 8, send them another update rather than letting them call you after week 7, because that's the toxic element of this. I'm quite diplomatic with that, but if your phone is ringing with "Where's my job?" You have customers bordering on dissatisfaction, and it's just such an exciting opportunity to take that by the horns and fix that problem at its root. And you just, as I say, it's an upward spiral when you do these things.
That's awesome. I love that. In fact, we talk all the time in my mastermind groups and whatnot, where customer service is not about bending over backwards for every customer. Good customer service is setting expectations up front and then delivering or over delivering on those expectations. So
absolutely.
That's exactly what you were sharing with us there. So thank you for that. All right, Brad. So we love to try to get people to break out their crystal ball, so to speak, right? I want to hear from you. You're in the thick of this automation and AI revolution, being a technology company. I'm excited to see you go full circle when your technology company now needs merch. You kind of got a handle on that, I think. But
Yeah.
sorry, bad joke. But what do you see kind of evolving in this automation uh, side of things when it comes to the print and promo world?
Great. So you mentioned in there AI. AI is the buzzword. It's everywhere. I see Tony Robbins is doing a seminar on how to embrace AI. It is everywhere. It's in your face all the time. AI, for some people, they're like, give it to me now.
Yeah.
Some people think about it just like the factory with robots. AI is scary. It's big. It's huge. It's not. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to be. It's also not coming for your job. It's not coming for your print shop. It's a tool that you can use. Print shops and how they're using it at the moment, it's largely around writing. And so write a great product description, help me write an email. That's great. But there's a lot of other uses for it as well. But print shops and promo companies, that's the majority of how we are seeing them using it at the moment. So AI, I believe, will continue to evolve, and we're going to be a part of that as well. As you mentioned, sort of on the right side of that as well, in actually making the things that you do in your business faster. The day-to-day processes that you're following, actually making those faster as well. But that's not now for AI. So for those people who are a little bit daunted by the prospect of AI, there's just seriously no reason to be. It's a really exciting time. It's obviously something broadly that people have concerns about, which is understandable. But when it comes to print shops, it's not coming for your print shop. We keep a very, very close eye on it. That's my perspective. But I think it's going to evolve into a really usable tool. But it all once again comes down, the AI is only as good as the prompts that you put into it. So if you have your set of rules, your tone of voice, your customer touch points, all of the things that the blueprint that we've kind of rolled out through this conversation, it sets you up in a better way to embrace technology across the board. That's the kind of thing, if someone comes in with that workflow and blueprint to our software, they're set up in about 2 hours, completely automated, set up their whole thing that where customers are being updated at this point and that point because they know their business in and out. And the result of that, just sort of as a side note, is you have an actual business that can be actually sold for actual money. Right now, if those processes aren't documented, no matter how big or how small you are, your company is worth about the same value as the secondhand value of your equipment. If you put correct, and I know this firsthand, if you put the right processes in place, at the end of the day, it's the IP, the intellectual property, and that's what you sell. And most print shop owners will go through the cycle of wanting at some point to sell their business. Everyone should. You put so much time and effort and energy into this. Why not get that great financial windfall? And it all comes with process documentation. That's actually what you sell. So the other thing that I've mentioned a number of times about we're a very customer-centric company, and we like working with customer-centric companies. What I mean by that is putting the customer first, making sure that their experience with your business is unlike anyone else in the space that they've ever worked with. And that's something to be aware of as a print shop in today's day and age. Customers expect more. They demand more and they deserve more. So what I mean by that is when a customer, they are ordering from you, but they're also have ordered 50 times from Amazon, or they've gone into the Apple store, the Genius Bar. That type of interaction is table stakes. That's the expectation these days. Yeah. So if what happens with your company is that someone comes in, order gets created, and then from there, the customer hears nothing and they call you after 3 weeks, where's my job? You've got to make some changes. Simple changes, nothing drastic, nothing to be nervous about. This is not robots, but it is something that is going to be a big wave of customers demanding and deserving more.
Yeah.
And then broadly, something that we have seen, and I know Printing United recently released an article saying that 60 to 70% of companies that they'd surveyed had begun selling products outside of their own internal toolkit. that is something that every single business should be doing. So if and that's going all the way back to the start of my story. That's what made my print shop so successful. Was cool. We print stuff in house, and we got a heat transfer vinyl machine. We had a DTG machine. There was a DTF machine after a while. So the machinery did expand, but we said yes to customers all the time. So we call them stubby coolers. You guys call them koozies. But if you're selling high visibility workwear, that's a fantastic value add. There's money in it. You're not having to produce it. There's just margin and money in your pocket. So we often get into this as creatives, but at the end of the day, you need a business to run, and you need a business to make a profit so that you can keep running it. And that is an outstanding way of doing it. So the move from, and this is already happening, and this is just going to be amplified. I do this really well. The rest of it I outsource, but I sell the whole lot. That's coming hard and fast, and it is the answer. Collaborate. The whole world's a big collaboration tool these days, and it's there's so many great companies. As I mentioned, Ninja Transfers, just because they have such a good trade show presence to the shows we go to, they popped out in my mind. But you're not doing DTF internally, start offering it to your customers. Just buy the transfers from someone else.
Right.
And then at some point, and this is I'm a massive advocate for this, is if you are going to continue to be a manufacturing company, which a lot of screen printer shops want to be, which is fantastic, sell to your customer first and buy the machinery second. So use an outsourced manufacturer of transfers for a number of years.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, wow, I'm doing $1 million a year with them. Buy a machine at that point.
Yeah.
Instead of, screen printers love their machines, don't they? They love walking around and checking out that beautiful M&R and Rock booth at the trade shows, right? And thinking, oh, one day I'm going to have that 40 color oval. And like, that's the thing that, and it's back to why we got into it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, get the customer first and the oval second. And that whole outsourcing model helps so much in doing that.
Yeah. Love it.
That's awesome. Well, hey, this has been fantastic. So let's do a little bit of self-promotion. How does Hoops specifically help decorators simplify their operations today and help prepare for what's next in our changing industry?
Oh, great. Look, thank you. So obviously, as I mentioned, what's coming next, that outsourcing piece, having been founded in Australia, that was absolutely core to what we were doing. And that's core to our software. It allows you to pivot on a dime. It allows you to start selling things outside of your toolkit. So it's a fantastic opportunity for the software to back the evolution of the business. And then the other thing that we do so well, our most loved feature, as I kind of lightly mentioned before, is our job board. We have this absolutely fantastic, completely customizable job board, which allows you to see all of your jobs at a glance. And that peace of mind that everyone's chasing, the fact that you don't work the Saturday, Sunday anymore, that's where it is. You log in, you can see where everything's at, what needs to be done next, and manage the whole order life cycle from the time the customer walks in, calls or emails or fills in a contact form, all the way through the delivery of that process. So we handle that whole workflow extremely well.
Amazing. Awesome.
Fantastic.
Brad, this has been an awesome conversation, speaking our language, but just sharing a ton of gold. And so we appreciate you taking some time to do this with us here, and looking forward to seeing you in person here in the United States at one of these upcoming trade shows. So if you guys want to go over to, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Brad, but it's Hoops CRM, HOOPS CRM.com is the website. Any other places people should go connect with you?
Yeah, we have a good YouTube channel as well. That'll give you an insight into what we do, give a few sort of nuggets of information of how we actually perform these automations. So check out, it's Hoop CRM as our YouTube handle as well.
Okay, awesome. We'll make sure we get that into the show notes as well, so you guys can just click directly on that, go to the YouTube channel or directly the website there. And looks like I was perusing the website. You can book a demo and chat with you guys about all the cool features and whatnot.
Yeah, that's right. We'll also, as I mentioned, be at Impressions in Long Beach in January, as well as the PPAI in Vegas in January as well. So,
Cool.
and the string of shows through the US next year with us being over there. So, yeah, that'll be really fun. I look forward to meeting both of you as
Yep.
well. I did check out your bios on the site as well, and I am unfortunately on Aaron's side of the fence, being a ranch guy, I'm not a blue cheese guy in any way. So, but we
We
can
were so close to being friends.
I love it. Brad, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Thank you both so much. I really appreciate it. Look forward to meeting in person next year.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guy. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the